In this video, we're going to look at topic 1.4, or the composition of mixtures. So the objective for 1.4 says explain the quantitative relationship between the elemental composition by mass and the composition of substances in a mixture. So what we're looking at here are something that's made up of two or more particles. So those particles can be elements, they can be compounds, whatever it is. In order for it to be a mixture, there has to be two or more different particles. So they're not bonded together. So if they're elements, they're not elements bonded in a compound, they're just elements together in a physical connection. Different analysis methods can tell us the percent composition of mixtures. So the percent composition is the mass of a certain element, which we can find by the mass divided by the mass of the compound times 100. So it's just what your typical percent would be. So if you know from analysis, if you know the certain mass of one of the elements in the compound, you can figure out the mass of another element. And the percent composition we can then use to analyze a mixture. So we can use it in two ways. We can use it as a conversion factor between the mass of the element and the mass of a compound. So we can use the percent composition to go back and forth between those two. If we go back and look at if we think about our mass percent as a fraction, that's where we can get this as a conversion. The more common use of it is to assess the components of a mixture or the purity of a sample. So if you know what the percent composition should be, you can calculate the percent composition in your sample, and then you can compare what it should be to what you actually have. And how those two compare is going to tell you what type of impurities you could have, especially if you have it narrowed down to a specific set of options. So a higher mass percent of an element indicates that the purity has a higher mass percent of that compound. So if you know that a compound is supposed to have 28%, but its analysis is showing that you have 35%, you know that there has to be more coming from somewhere. Therefore, there's an impurity that has that element in it. In a compound, the element will always be combined with a smaller element. So that's how we can use percent composition to both use it as a conversion factor, and we can use it to assess the components of a mixture, primarily when we're looking at impurities and what those impurities might possibly be.